Hey, you guys, we are at that time of the month again, the time of the full moon. We are at the full moon for the month of Cheshvan, which is the second month on the creation calendar and the eighth month on the sacred calendar given to Moses. And if you are new here, then we take a look at the heavenly bodies to see what they are communicating to us. The Lord says in his word that he placed the heavenly bodies there to be for signs and to be for seasons. And so the heavens are God's time clock, his heavenly time clock, and they are what govern and control our days, months, years, and seasons here on earth. God uses the heavenly bodies to govern earth. In Job 38:33, it says, "Do you know the laws of the heavens? Can you set up God's dominion over the earth?" And it goes on to say, "Have you tied cords to the Pleiades or loosened the bonds of Orion? Can you bring forth the Mazzaroth," which is the zodiac, the constellations, "in their season, or guide the bear with her children? Do you know the ordinances of the heavens, so you can put into effect their plan on the earth?" So the heavenly bodies are used by God to implement the ordinances of God and put them into effect on earth. And Psalm 19 says, "The heavens proclaim the glory of God. The skies display his craftsmanship. Day after day they continue to speak. Night after night they make him known. They speak without a sound or word. Their voice is never heard. Yet their message has gone throughout the earth, and their words to all the world." It goes on to say, "The law of the Lord is perfect." What law is this? This is the governing bodies in the heavenly realms. "The law of the Lord is perfect. It gives new strength. The commands of the Lord are trustworthy, giving wisdom to those who lack it. The laws of the Lord are right, and those who obey them are happy. The commands of the Lord are just and give understanding to the mind." So we are taking a look at the heavenly bodies so that we can see what they are saying, what God is saying from heaven, because it says in his word that he will show forth signs in the sun, moon, and the stars. And so he speaks to us from heaven, using the signs in the heavens to impart to us wisdom and knowledge, and to give us understanding of each biblical month and what it means, so that we can navigate our life in step with God and with the wisdom of God. So at this time, we are at the full moon in Taurus. The moon navigates through the 12 zodiac signs in 1 month, whereas the sun is in one zodiac sign for an entire month. So at the time of this full moon, the moon is literally in the sign of Taurus. And Taurus is about our material wealth, our finances, our material security, and how we go about getting that material security. Taurus is a fixed sign, which means that it's associated with stability, determination, and endurance, but it also means that it can be fixed in its ways, a bit stubborn, and hesitant to change. Now, at the time of this full moon, the planet Mars is going to be opposite the planet Uranus, and it's going to be this tense opposition to Uranus, the planet of unpredictable events. So this is going to lead people into sudden breakthroughs or conflicts. And so it's often related to a need for freedom and independence. So the way that the way that we're experiencing this full moon is intense, and it's meant to bring us to this point of, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't go on like this anymore. In order for us to change, to step into our breakthrough. So this intense feeling of, I just can't do this anymore and I just can't go on like this anymore, can either make or break you. Okay, so you want to have a good grasp on your emotions and not let this break you, but allow this to be your breakthrough, because this is what it's meant to do. It's meant to bring you to that point of surrender of, I just cannot do this anymore. I cannot continue like this. And if you look at the way that life is going right now for the world at large, we're all, I think, being faced with this reality that, like, stuff has gotten so out of hand. If divine intervention does not kick in, like, we just cannot continue like this. And that is the intensity and the energy behind this full moon in Taurus. So keep that in mind, because you definitely could feel like you're about to like just break. I have seen quite a few people this month, and we talked about the monthly breakdown of Cheshvan. This month has a lot of dark, intense energy tied to it. It's about judgment, but also grace, and it's about death. Okay, it's no coincidence that we have, Halloween in the month of Cheshvan. It is really the month that is kind of like this doorway to death, to the depths, and this is where we overcome this dark place. This is where we're brought to the lowest of low, where we're brought into our internal turmoil and conflict so that we can be pushed into a breakthrough and into a new beginning and a transformation. I've seen quite a few people just through social media that have really just tapped out and kind of lost it, which is really, really sad. People are giving up, believers that are just, just having a breakdown and giving up Christ and talking bad about Christ, like rejecting and turning away from the faith. And I've seen this in multiple occasions on my feed just this month of Cheshvan. So this will either make you or break you. This will test you this month, but you have to understand what it's there for. It's meant to break you so that you can go into the breakthrough, so you can make the changes and take the direction, because we've been in this place of being in the crossroads. And so it's meant to get you to that point of realization that I can't do it anymore, and make those changes and direct your feet onto the path of your new timeline and your new beginning. So this is why it's important to understand each month and what's going on prophetically in the heavens, in the earth, spiritually speaking, so that we can make sense of all these things that we have to endure from month to month in the earth. This month is intense. This month is about overcoming hell. Scorpio is associated with the planet Pluto. That is the ruling planet of Scorpio, which is the underworld. So right now we are literally overcoming death, hell, and the grave, and being given a way of escape. Noah, judgment came and wiped away the wicked. Death came on the land to wipe away the wicked, cleanse the earth, but Noah was given a way of escape. So if you feel that you are on your breaking point, if you feel like, and I feel for many that this is financial, this is bringing financial strain for a lot of people, okay? Because this full moon is about Taurus, which is finances, and this month the sun is in the sign of Scorpio for the entire month, which is hell, death. So it's this intensity that many will find is happening in our finances, this financial strain. But God is going to, if you will stand steadfast in your faith, you will see that God is going to provide a way of escape, or a way of means to get you through. Now today is November 4th, and today Mars enters the sign of Sagittarius, and this is shifting the energy to a more adventurous and truth-seeking focus. So try not to get caught up in the deep, murky depths of Scorpio, of the judgment, of the hell, of the darkness, and know that we are shifting. God is shifting us into a time of adventure and a time of seeking truth, and truth coming forth. People demanding truth and seeking truth. So it is very fitting for this month that it was a time like Noah's day. When the flood came, Noah looked all around and saw destruction and death and people being swept away. So I definitely feel that at this time we are experiencing this as well in the earth. And even more intensely, I have seen the shift just this month. Just this month, the pressure that has increased on silencing truth. There's been an increase on silencing truth. I just recently lost my TikTok account, and they are cracking down on truth. But we see here in the heavenly bodies that Mars is entering Sagittarius, and this is why they're cracking down on truth, because the powers that be understand astrology, and the fact that you don't is very beneficial to them, because then they can actively pursue to fight. They can actively try to fight the astrology. They can actively try to fight the ordinances of heaven that are being released. And since we, the people, are ignorant to it, we are not partnering with God. Instead, we're listening to the media and what they're putting out, which is a bunch of fear, a bunch of lies, and a bunch of things to try to go against what God is releasing from heaven, what God is saying from heaven. So God's saying this is a time for the wicked to be swept away. This is a time for judgment. This is time for a new beginning. This is time for truth to come forth. Whereas the media and the powers at work in the power of the air is releasing constant information that is very opposite to this, trying to make us all feel like this is the very end, like there is no hope, like we've lost all freedom, like we are about to be thrown into camps. And this is why we have to receive our information from heaven. And this is why it's helpful to know what's going on in the heavenly bodies and what God is releasing, what ordinances are being released from month to month into the earth, so we can partner with God, so we can partner with heaven, so we can stand in truth and not be led by our emotions. This is how they control the masses, is through our emotions and through manipulating those emotions and through manipulating the narrative. But when we're tapped into heaven, we see what influences are actually being released from heaven. And then we can partner with God and stand in it, and we can prosper, and we can fight back against what they're trying to do and what they're trying to stop. So on November 6th, we have the planet Venus entering the sign of Scorpio. And Venus is associated with love, pleasure, relationships, and emotional expression. And so it entering the sign of Scorpio means that we're going to be seeking relationships that have emotional depth. Relationships made under this influence are going to be about loyalty and commitment. Now, remember that every full moon is connected to 6 months previous, and it's going to also connect you to the next 6 months moving forward. So the astrology that we see occurring at this time of the full moon is going to have an effect and play out in your life over the next 6 months. It's going to be a storyline that helps orchestrate your next 6 months. So pay attention to that and make notes. It's good to write down notes for each month. So this current full moon connects us back to May, and I made some notations for that month, and I'm just going to share a few. And this is just things that the Lord gave me, and also things associated with the astrology that was happening in the month of May 2025. Some of the notations I made was shock, surprise, money from unexpected places and unexpected people, commitment, gifts, jumping at an opportunity, and a 10-year cycle ending. So due to the notations I made 6 months ago, I can have an idea of possibly what to expect around this time and be prepared for those things, and to take advantage of any opportunities that may appear in my life at this time. So I just always encourage everyone to keep notes, to keep a calendar, to keep a journal, to write down things, times, dates, words given to you by God, so that you can, from month to month and from full moon to full moon, new moon to new moon, you can be keeping up with the cycles, with the patterns, with the development of your progress and of the progress of God's prophetic will for your life. And you can be prepared in each season to make the most out of the opportunities that God puts in your path. And for me, looking back at May and what I had noted down in May, it was confirmation, because God had spoken to me about this full moon being an ending. Okay, full moons are about endings. New moons are about beginnings, starting something new. Full moons are about endings, completions. And this full moon, the Lord said this was an end of a 10-year cycle, which makes perfect sense for me. Looking back 10 years from now and what was happening at that time. And now I look back for the month of May to see what I had noted for that month, having to do that has to do with this month, because every full moon is 6 months back and 6 months forward. And I had noted 10-year cycle ending. So this was confirmation to what God had spoken and downloaded to me prophetically at this time. A 10-year cycle is ending. So think back to 10 years for you and what this past 10 years has looked like and what cycle is God bringing to a close. For me, the last 10 years have been filled with so much struggle, pain, heartbreak, trials, learning major life lessons. It was 10 years ago that I really stepped out on my own and didn't have support of anyone, so it's been 10 years that I really was out on my own, and it's been rough. I was so naive. I was so ignorant to bills and having all of that on my shoulders. And as a mother and a young mother and someone making minimum wage, trying to make ends meet, being on assistance for a time, trying to get on my feet, like this is what the last 10 years for me, and also overcoming obstacles. And if you follow this channel, I've talked plenty about that, the ending of my marriage and all of that, the last 10 years being brought to a close, and all of that being necessary for my learning, for my growth, for my faith, for having what I need to take on this new beginning. So this full moon is about taking time to offload, rest and offload the last 10 years, and to let that all sink in, Everything that you've learned, everything that had to go, and why did it have to go? So that you could step in to this new beginning. The full moon in Taurus with Mars entering Sagittarius around the same time as the full moon, that's about a surge of energy and about taking action and making decisive decisions and changes. And this is especially in the area of career and personal development. So Taurus is big on finances and how we make those finances. So we're going to see things shift for us, I believe, in our career and monetarily in our finances. So just be prepared for that. You may find that there's a shock because you're having a career change, or you're having to move to take on a new job, or you're having to take some major actions towards reaching your goals and having to let go of how you've been doing things. And this can be shocking, it can be surprising, it can be uncomfortable, it can be scary, but it can also be exciting. It can bring about new adventure, a new zeal for life, a new passion. Now, I want to get a little bit into some Jewish history, because on the day of this full moon in Taurus, which is the 14th of Cheshvan, this was the day that the Jews of Prague were saved in the year 1620. So in May 1618, the Bohemian Revolt broke out in Prague, and this triggered the 30 Years' War. And in November 1620, King Ferdinand II suppressed the rebels in Prague in the Battle of White Mountain. Notwithstanding the widespread looting, the king gave orders that no Jews be harmed. To commemorate the miraculous turn of events, the Rabbi of Prague instituted penitential prayers to be said every year on the 14th of Cheshvan. So this 30 Years' War was fought primarily in Central Europe between 1618 to 1648, and it is said to be one of the most destructive conflicts in human history. An estimated 4.5 to 8 million soldiers and civilians died from the effects of battle, famine, and disease. It was caused by a complex mix of religious tensions and political rivalries within the Holy Roman Empire. It was ignited by the Holy Roman Emperor Ferdinand II and his attempts to impose Catholicism on his domains. The immediate trigger was the defenestration of Prague in 1618, when Protestant nobles threw Catholic officials out of a castle window in protest of the emperor's actions. So we see in the month of Cheshvan the saving of the Jews in the time of this war that is said to be one of the most destructive conflicts in human history. This war that was a religious and a political war and went on for some time, but 2 years in, it's announced that no Jews should be harmed. So I feel like this is very fitting for the time that we are in today, a time where there's war, conflict, and persecution happening all around the world. And yet God's people, like Noah, have found grace and are being kept safely, even in the midst of a very heavy war. And our prayers definitely need to be going out for those Christians all around the world who are being persecuted. And this was the daily thought that I found tied to this 14th of Cheshvan, the time of the full moon. The daily thought: Abraham passed 10 tests in his lifetime, but why did God test him? Doesn't God know what is in a man's heart? But when God challenges you, the challenge itself lifts you higher, much higher, to a place you could never reach on your own. It reveals entirely hidden capacities, granting you access to powers you never imagined you had. When God throws you a challenge, don't say, I cannot pass this test. It's beyond me. It may be true that you were never capable, but thanks to this challenge, now you are. And I feel that was very fitting for a word that I just shared the other day about, like, we're ready now, about us being ready now, and about how when tests and challenges come, that they're not just there to be there as temptations to cause us to fall, but they're there to test us so that we can witness what we're made of. God knows what's in a man's heart, but we don't realize our own power, our own strength, and what we are capable through God in overcoming in our life. And so I've been experiencing where tests have been coming, and I navigate them in a completely different way, and I'm able to, like, see them differently, discern them differently, and I'm able to just experience that I've transformed. I'm not who I used to be. I've grown. I've gained more wisdom, more strength, more courage, more confidence, and all these things that God has been building in me. Now, when those same challenges come, they don't trip me up anymore. They don't get to me like they did before. And God needs us to witness this for ourselves, to embody this. This is what we're made of, but we don't realize what we're made of until we tap in and we build. It's a process of becoming who God created us to be. It's a process of tapping into that. It's a process of getting to know who that person is, because we start off, out of the womb, completely in infancy, unaware. But the more that we face challenges with God, the more that we discover what we're made of, what we're capable of, and who we are. So just remember that these challenges, the pressure we're feeling, the challenges are not there to take us out. They're there to show us what we're made of, what we're capable of, and what is possible through faith. And I want to share a little bit of the biblical interpretation of the sign of Taurus. The sign depicts the bull rushing forward with its horns in attack mode, ready to pierce and destroy everything in its path. Taurus is not like the domestic bulls we know today. The Hebrew scripture called him Rimu, which is believed to be extinct in our present day. It might be comparable to our wild ox of today, but the book of Job depicts the Rimu as untamable and ferocious. Will the wild ox be willing to serve you? Will he bed by your manger? Can you bind the wild ox in the furrow with ropes? Or will he plow the valleys behind you? Will you trust him because his strength is great? Or will you leave your labor to him? Will you trust him to bring home your grain and gather it to your threshing floor? Job 39, verses 9 through 12. Whether Taurus is a wild ox of today or the Rimu of the past, we know when he comes, he will come with power and might to destroy the evil that has so long plagued our world. This is the second coming when Jesus comes as judge. We know from Isaiah that at his second coming, he will come with vengeance. The name of Taurus simply means the bull coming, and the Syriac meaning adds the bull coming to rule. So this is a depiction of Taurus and a reflection of what Taurus represents when it has to do with Christ. Now, the star names give more meaning. Pleiades means the congregation of the judge. Hyades means the congregated. Pelisium means belonging to the judge. Aldebaran means the leader, governor. Alcyon means the center. So we see that these stars that make up Taurus depict a judge, judgment, power, and the coming vengeance of the Lord. Okay, so this is definitely in alignment with Cheshvan, with Scorpio, with this month being a time of judgment, okay, and treading over scorpions, serpents and scorpions. Okay, we're treading over hell. We are overcoming. We are defeating death and the grave, the things that are trying to take you out. You are overcoming them, and you are being given a new beginning. So hang in there. Do not give up, and stand firm in your faith. God will make a way where there seems to be no way. He will pull you through. This is meant to push you into your new beginning. Be blessed.